All right, today we're going to dive into a really profound spiritual text that asks a question I think a lot of us can relate to. If the truth is right there, staring us in the face, why is it so incredibly hard to see sometimes? And the writings kick off with this just really powerful question. It frames a problem that feels so relevant right now, that feeling of being spiritually lost, totally adrift in a sea of conflicting ideas. So, what is this oppression that it's talking about? What's the source?
So when we hear that word oppression, our minds usually jump to something political, right? But that's not what the text is getting at. It's pointing to something much deeper, something more internal, a kind of spiritual darkness.
And this is a really crucial distinction to make. We're not talking about governments or physical force here. The text is describing a crisis of knowledge, a crisis of the spirit. It's talking about a time when the very foundations of wisdom and morality have just crumbled. And you can really see the symptoms of this spiritual darkness laid out here. I mean, look at it. You've got foolish leaders in charge, sacred knowledge turning to dust, basically ignored. Our sense of right and wrong is shattered. And justice, well, it's just being bought and sold. The whole world is essentially turned upside down. Okay, so this brings us to a really central question. Why? Why is the world in this state of spiritual darkness? Is it because knowledge is being kept from us, locked away somewhere? Well, the text has a pretty surprising answer. And that answer is no. And this is where we hit the core paradox of the whole thing. The text argues that divine knowledge is actually everywhere. It's in every single thing. Signs of truth are all around us, from the tiniest particle to the biggest galaxy. So the door to knowledge, it's not locked. It was never locked. So if the door's wide open, what's the problem? Well, according to the text, the barrier isn't out there somewhere. It's in here. It's something we build. We just imagine the door is closed because we're so wrapped up in our own idle fancy, as the text puts it, our own ideas, our own desires. And let's be honest, that stuff is way easier to follow than the tough road to real understanding. And this whole idea of a self-created barrier brings us straight to the central conflict in these writings. It's a fundamental choice that every single one of us has to make, the choice between spirit and self. So the source lays out this really stark choice, like two forks in the road. On one side, you have the path of knowledge. It leads to truth, but yeah, it's going to cost you. It requires sacrifice, letting go of your ego, your attachments. Then you've got the other path, the path of idle fancy. And that one, it's easy, it's comfortable, it's just following whatever you want, whenever you want it, and it often leads to worldly riches. The text is pretty clear that we tend to run from the hard path and just cling to the easy one. And then the text just comes right out and challenges the logic of this choice. It's basically saying, hey, your days are numbered, your time here is short, so why are you so obsessed with piling up earthly treasures that you can't take with you? It's a pretty blunt, powerful reminder, isn't it? Okay, but this brings up a really tough question, right? If the whole point is unity and understanding, then why go through all this confusion and darkness in the first place? It seems kind of counterproductive. Well, the text totally anticipates that question, and it completely reframes the whole struggle. It says, this darkness, it's not just some random punishment. No, it's a test, and it has a purpose. The writings put it beautifully. The night of error has to come before the dawn of divine guidance can break through. So this is the key takeaway here. It's not about punishment. It's about growth. These tests are there for a reason. First, they're to help us figure out how to tell what's true from what's false. Second, that struggle is exactly what helps our souls get stronger. And finally, all of this is what ultimately frees us from what the text calls the prison cage of our own ego and desires. All right, so the final section of the text makes a big shift. It moves from explaining the problem to giving us a direct, urgent call to action. It's laid out the why, and now it's going to tell us the what to do about it. And the solution starts with this really simple but powerful command: shake off your slumber. It's a call to wake up, to stop sleepwalking through life in this state of carelessness that lets all that darkness take root. Okay, so what's next? The text says to put away the things ye have devised. What does that mean? It means consciously letting go of all those self-made ideas, those prejudices, all the attachments to worldly stuff that cloud our vision. It's about tearing down that wall of idle fancy we talked about earlier, brick by brick. And at the very heart of this message is the call to return and repent. Now, repent can be a heavy word, but in this context, it's not really about guilt. It's more like a course correction. It means making a conscious choice to turn away from that path of self and turn back towards the source of truth. And what's so important here is that this call to action, it doesn't come from a place of fear or threat. It's actually rooted in a deep message of hope. The text makes it clear that grace encompasses it all. It's this beautiful reminder that mercy is bigger than any mistake we've made, and that the path back is always, always open to every single one of us. So, in the end, the text leaves us with this one last question. And man, is it relevant for our time? In this age of constant distraction, what does it actually take to wake up? The writing suggests the answer isn't about finding some new secret knowledge out there. It's about having the courage to look inside and clear away all the junk that's stopping us from seeing the truth that was right there the whole time.